I adopted 20 flamingos. I thought, I'm never gonna see these flamingos. I thought it was hilarious. You know, it's like, buying a planet or something.
I was like, what's this thing with flamingos? Why do I like flamingos?
Unfortunately, I have no personal flamingo stories. This project certainly has given me reason to go and find some, though.
Dance with Flamingos is a mixed reality experience in which humans can dance with virtual flamingos. I'm really interested in that you can't grasp them, the intangibility of the flamingo and the uncertainty of their future. Populations had declined quite a bit, but our own population has, grown so much, and human activity has moved into wetland areas, and now with the threat of climate change and sea level rise, flamingos, as a member of like a wetland ecology, are under more threat than ever before.
When I entered into this project, I would say my relationship with flamingos was, I assume, similar to the majority of people, and that was that I had seen a lot of plastic flamingos on wire legs stuck in yards and seen them adorning various arbitrary surfaces and objects.
The flamingo is a bit of a cultural icon for us, and there's sort of a flatness to an icon. And a lot of representations of flamingos are consumable, like they are about the pink color. There's not a lot of information. So I'm interested in the human relationship to the flamingo, like humans love flamingos. So this is a really good entry point to have a deeper discussion. These are neurons that snap in.
My first interaction with it was, oh, that's funny, flamingos. And then the more I talked to her, the more I saw that there's a pretty deep philosophical concept underneath it. So your head's back, you want to put your headband on?
Yeah. My project is it's very connected to the fantasy of the flamingo and also the factual of the flamingo. So I try to balance those two.
Kristen's been great to work with. She's incredibly enthusiastic and is really pushing us to explore with her rather than acting sort of like a creative director and dictating the way that things need to go.
So one thing we can do is we can also create another animation that really just gets your pose where you're stretching.
Yeah. Like just a short one.
Just a short one. Let me show you how to do that.
So I want to create the experience of a flock of 20 flamingos moving through, doing this march, doing the mating dance, and that you get to be right in there with them. It's a flamingo-led dance, and you can join it. I will do a salute where I throw my wings back as far as I can, and my neck is up tall, and then I'm going to start marching around. I'm using motion capture as a recording technology. I'm thinking about the choreography, and I'm saying, what makes a flamingo a flamingo? What do I carry away from that experience? And one is the synchronicity of flamingos. Head flagging. A flamingo will be standing or in motion. They'll be turning their head in rapid succession to the left or to the right. Wing salute. A flamingo will suddenly throw back their arms as wide as they can, about 40 degrees behind their back for 1 to 2 seconds, and pull them back. And they might be head flagging, they might be preening as they're marching. I don't have a really long neck. That's like one of the hardest parts to figure out with the motion capture because they do so much with their necks.
The first time I actually put the HoloLens on and had my own flamingo head and then was able to look across the room and see another person with a flamingo head, it was amazing because despite knowing exactly how it worked, there was just this sort of moment where we just both switched into playfulness.
I wanted the flamingo to be very accessible and more like a sketch. I wanted it to sort of carry some of the simplicity of the types of images that I see in fashion and tourism, so that it would be easily recognizable as a flamingo, but you might also actually feel bad for it. One of the things is it has a hole in its chest, and that came out of just like me doing it wrong. And then we just kept it because it was just like, why does that flamingo have a hole? We never get there. Nobody ever asked me that, but it's really clear that there's something going on. You can see right through the flamingo. To me, that expresses something about the vulnerability.
Somehow it puts a smile on your face. So when people are wearing a HoloLens and there's 3 of them in a room and they're seeing big flamingo heads instead of each other's head, that it just creates a kinship and something happens. That has got nothing to do with technology or with AR. It's a human thing.
Despite the fact that you're in the room with other people and it's augmented reality and you know they're standing there looking at you, you feel totally free to just sort of like become your goofy self and dance with these virtual birds in the room. There's this amazing sort of transformative experience knowing that other people are seeing you in this augmented way.
You're handed a tablet. We're working with iPad Pros and AR Kit, and you're able to move around the space and populate your surroundings with flamingos. And you can interact with those flamingos to view information graphics.
In this project, we're trying to get our audience to feel as they're part of the flock of flamingos. So it's about people adapting to the flamingos, not flamingos or nature adapting to them.
And so it seemed like a great opportunity to do something really interesting and take on a pretty significant problem, which is trying to get these devices to all agree on the cohesiveness of the world space.
I wanted the devices to be able to be in a shared unified reality, and so that's what I tasked Ben and Thomas to think about.
Like further over this way so that the avatar is on the frame, as you're just outside there you go. There's really no built-in mechanism to get these devices, even multiple iOS devices, to have a cohesive understanding of where the 000 point of the world is.
Instead of we all just have our own augmented realities in our phones or in our headsets, we're all looking at a shared augmented reality. And that's where you can start doing interesting interactive things.
That was sort of the crux of the problem, since we want to have HoloLens and also iOS devices both seeing the same augmented objects in space and having that lock up with the physical space as well. We're relying on some physical artifacts in the space to act sort of like anchor points that we can use to kind of rally all of the different devices around so that they understand the space in the same way. I feel like we're definitely at this kind of like inflection point where AR and VR have this opportunity to become ubiquitous the way that smartphones did. I think there is huge possibility with AR and VR to change how people interact. We're seeing now kind of the fallout of everyone having screens with them all the time. People get lost in the screens rather than being in the world around them, and I feel like we can sort of take the connectedness and the power that these devices have given us, and we can take the eyes off the screen and kind of reconnect with the world and the people around us in some new and interesting ways.
That's why I'm interested in AR, because I want you to be able to interact with more than one world at the same time. I like the porousness between worlds. I like the porousness between devices. You know, there are many different paths to take here to have this conversation about flamingos. And I don't want them to be held separate from one another. I want to understand the whole ecology of thoughts, of conflicts, of concepts that are a part of this piece.